Hi, welcome to another travel video by Gary Rose Travels. Please click like and subscribe for more videos, and also visit GaryRoseTravels.com, and also you can now find us on Facebook. So this video is part 2 of my backpacking in India route series, and in this video you're going to be learning all about transport in India. What are your options? And also accommodation in India, what are your options? So first of all, transport in India. Welcome to the wonderful and bizarre world of Indian transport. Nowhere else in this world have I travelled by camel, hitched a ride in a tractor and trailer. We have hitched a ride in a cotton, like a wagon that was grossly overloaded. The driver opened the door and his mouth was full of, you know, the beetle nut, and it was all oozing out, and he just went, "Get in." So yeah, we got in and we got a lift with him. We've also been on a public bus when halfway through the journey the driver stopped, and we went to his auntie's house for tea and biryani. That wasn't planned, he just decided that it was that time. So yeah, so basically transport can be quite weird and wonderful. The main forms of transport in India are obviously the train, which is quite famous. You've got public and private buses. You've also got things called shared jeeps, and obviously rickshaws as well. First of all, I'm going to talk a little bit about shared jeeps, because if you are on a budget, these can be quite a useful way of getting around in remote areas. Sometimes we do hire a private jeep if we're heading somewhere really remote, or if you're really relying on that transport. Again, in the remote regions we hire a private jeep, but generally speaking we like to keep it local. One, because it's cheap, and two, because that's all part of the fun for us. So with with shared jeeps, and these are mainly in the more mountainous regions. What you can do to get a shared jeep is to go to the main towns like Manali or Leh, and you'll see advertised outside trekking agencies and shops and tour agencies. You'll see on boards it'll say 2 or 3 or 4 passengers required for a trip to like Pangdong So or something, or Somidiri. These are lakes in the north, and they basically want more people to book out the numbers. You go in, you put your name down, and then obviously it starts bulking out the numbers, and as soon as they've got enough people, maybe later in the day or the next day, you can leave and you only pay a fraction of the cost. You can also get shared jeeps with locals. These are quite widespread throughout the country. You can also get shared tuk-tuks. One thing I would recommend is that you often shared jeeps and tuk-tuks and things can be quite cramped, so sometimes it's best to pay for 2 seats for one person. I just have 1 seat, but Gary's quite tall, so sometimes we'll pay for 2 seats for him, because if not, it's going to be very cramped. Also, if you don't want to put your bags on the roof, you can pay for a seat for your bag. So, you know, it's still a little bit more than the rest of the passengers are prepared to pay, but it's like maybe 100 or 200 rupees or something. It's not actually that much. So that is the shared transport in India. Trains. Let me talk about trains. I have made a video all about booking train tickets in India, so check this one out as well. However, I'm just going to talk about what it's like to travel on the train. Basically, train travel is one of the joys of visiting India. You can get on a train in New Delhi and you can go through the slums for an hour, which is absolutely amazing to see how people make a living. Also, then on the same journey you go down to the traditional villages of Rajasthan, out through the desert. You then arrive in Gujarat, which is an amazing state to visit, and then you will end up in Mumbai. So yeah, throughout that whole journey you've gone from the heart of New Delhi to the city of Mumbai. All the way you've seen different cultures, different religions, different animals, different terrains, different types of housing. It's quite amazing basically. The journeys in India are something to behold, so I would say at least one of your journeys in India, try and make it a long one. and just watch the world go by on the train. So sometimes trains can be quite crowded, quite dirty. Don't be put off by them. There are ways around this. One of the ways is to book a 2AC carriage. Obviously it's AC, so it's a little bit more comfortable. They're also a little bit more expensive, so it's not as busy. They're also quite private, so maybe if you're two women together or a solo woman, or maybe it's your first time in India, you want something that makes you feel a little bit more comfortable, I would say book 2AC. If you're just booking a sleeper class train, then I would recommend that you book the top bunk. You get 1, 2 and 3 bunks on sleeper class. Try and book the top bunk for an overnight journey. Again, it's a little bit more private, so it feels a little bit safer as well, because you're out the way of people. Maybe they won't notice that you're there so much, because it's just basically, you know, you'll get people hassling, trying to sell you things, and yeah, trying to maybe take pictures of you. So if you've got the top bunk, you're just tucked out the way. If it's maybe a 6 or an 8 hour journey, it doesn't really matter where you sit. And very often we find that train travel is quite a lot cheaper than bus. So that's another reason why you should try and book your train tickets first. So in India, there are also private buses and public buses. Each state in India has its own public bus, unique to that state. They're often different colours, they often have different themes, different style of driving and getting around. For example, the Himachal buses, they're all the way up in the north. They're dark green and white, and those buses are like really battered. They're really beaten up, whereas the buses you get in Rajasthan are often blinging. They're decked out in lights, and there's like figurines of gods, and this is quite an interesting experience to travel by them. Very often there's loud music, like Bollywood music playing in the buses. So each state is identifiable by its buses, basically. There's also private buses and sleeper buses. There's many different private travel companies for buses in India. The Lonely Planet will recommend some reputable ones. We've travelled by sleeper bus and by private bus before. They're usually very efficient, very quick. Sometimes they can be a little bit expensive, especially for sleeper buses, but they get you to the heart of the action really quite quickly. They're often quite comfortable as well. Obviously, when you're travelling by bus especially, always check your departure and arrival times. You don't ever want to be rocking up in an unfamiliar city late at night or very early in the morning. Also with private buses, make sure they drop you off where you're supposed to be dropped off, not where they try and drop you off and then obviously a rickshaw will come up, he'll pick you up, he'll take you to where you want to be, and then that rickshaw will be in cahoots with the bus driver, who will then split the cost of your overpriced fare. So always make sure if it says it's going to take you to the bus stand, it takes you to the bus stand. Okay, so just be careful there. Also, if you're not sure on the destination, you're not sure how to say it, maybe you're saying it wrong, maybe you're not confident, get somebody who speaks English in your hotel, your guest house or a restaurant to write it down in their local language, the name of it, and then when you get to the bus stand you can show the bus drivers and also people who work there where it is, and they will read it and they will know exactly what it is you want. This is really for the less touristed areas and the more remote places. Most places that people go, they'll know, oh, you know, they want to go Udaipur, they want to go Pushkar, and they'll kind of point you in the right direction. If you're not sure on which fare to pay, you can be scammed if you're not careful. So what I would say is try and establish what that is before you get on the bus. Try and ask around if there's other passengers, especially if there's like college kids getting on the bus. Most kids, if they go to college, they can speak English. And just say, how much is it to, or do you know how much to? Maybe they can help you. Very often other passengers will help, because if you're not careful you will end up getting scammed at some point, unfortunately. So yeah, try and establish how much it is, and also take something with you to show where it is you want to go, because sometimes the pronunciation of places is wrong and it just causes confusion. So yeah, that is what I would do to travel by bus. So next, accommodation. What are the options in India? So when choosing accommodation in India, we often will read our guidebook and we'll pick out, say, 2 to 3 budget places. We'll decide on a few. However, when we rock up to a new place, we never tell the rickshaw driver the actual name of the guest house. We always look for sites nearby, like water fountain or a temple or a name of a road, or perhaps a business or a shop nearby, because very often on the maps it will say temples or fountains, or something notable nearby, and that's where we ask to be taken to. We then walk from there. If you ask the name of a specific hotel, then 9 times out of 10 the rickshaw or taxi driver will try and get commission for taking you there, and ultimately you're the ones who have to pay the commission on top of the hotel or guest house fee. So yeah, unfortunately that does happen quite a lot. Also, if you name a specific hotel, they'll tell you that it's closed down, or it's bad, or nobody works there, or you can't go there, and they'll basically try and get any way for you not to go there if they know they're not going to get commission. Sometimes they'll try and get commission, sometimes they don't try and get commission, but either way, ultimately you're going to suffer. So as you will see in my later videos, I will explain more about how you go about getting to specific areas with specific points of interest near hotels. I'll go into more detail on this later in other videos, so you should watch my other videos for more of this. So yeah, that's how we get around it. Basically, hotel rates, room rates, guest house rates are all negotiable on time of year. If you're travelling in the off season, expect rates to be very down. Also, they're negotiable on how long you're going to stay. If you're going to stay for like 4 or 5 nights, make sure you tell them when you get there. Just say, look, we're going to stay for 4 or 5 nights. What can you do? Also, if you're going to eat, especially if it's a homestay or a B&B, if you're going to eat in the hotel, perhaps you're going to have breakfast or dinner, they're quite often willing to be flexible on price, because they know ultimately they're going to get more money out of you if you stay longer. So what to expect from certain prices. So a bog standard backpacker room, well, not bog standard, quite nice really, for about 1,200 you can probably expect a TV, hot water, and maybe AC. This is for a nondescript run-of-the-mill town. Obviously in Mumbai, New Delhi, Calcutta, expect to pay quite a lot more. But for like your bog standard tourist places like Jodhpur, Jaipur, Pushkar, Amritsar, this is what you're expecting to pay, about 1,200, and they're the facilities that you will pay, that you'll get for your money basically. Sometimes you can stay in the all Indian guest houses and hotels. Expect to pay quite a bit less than 1,200. Expect to pay between, say, 400 and 800 a night. Budget places can be quite cheap and cheerful. The service is very prompt. Gary always says, like, there's no cuddling afterwards with them, in, out, money, that's it. But on the upside, don't book backpacker places and don't pay out if you're not going to use the facilities. Sometimes there's no point paying for a TV if all the channels are in Hindi. Sometimes there's no point paying for AC if it's quite chilly or you can get away with a fan. Don't pay out for these, just go for a run-of-the-mill all Indian service place, because if not you're going to be paying for things that you can't use, which is quite frustrating. Also, if they do promise TV and things and it doesn't work, then absolutely say something. I do, because for us paying out like 1,200 is quite luxurious, and if we don't get what it is that they say, it's quite annoying, to be honest. If you want something like hot water in an all Indian place and they don't have it, most times you can often in hotels they have like hotel boys who work there, and often if you just say to them, can I have a bucket of hot water, and you pay like 50 rupees, you'll get that bucket of water really quickly. They'll just boil up some pans in the kitchen, especially if you just pay them, because that's going to go in their pocket. Also things like laundry, and getting you like bottled water and things, they'll do that for you. If you know, if you slip them some money, they'll get you whatever it is you need, which is how it tends to work in Indian places. So yeah, that's basically the pros and cons of hotels. You can also stay in things called homestays in India. These are again often found in the north. There's also ones in this, like across India as well, but most that we've stayed in have been in the north. For 1,000 rupees per person, you get a bed for the night, you get breakfast, dinner and a packed lunch. So dinner when you arrive after a day's trek, and then breakfast in the morning and packed lunch. These greatly vary in quality, and sometimes we've rocked up and we've been really surprised. You know, they've been like hot water and clean sheets, and it's been really comfortable. Other times we've got there and I've been given a bucket of cold water in the yard with the goats. Beggars can't be choosers, and to be honest, we're so grateful for there being somewhere safe to stay that very often we just get on with it. Sometimes the packed lunch that you're given can be a little bit potato and a boiled egg, but again, don't be too disappointed, and don't say anything, because very often these people don't have an awful lot themselves. But yeah, homestays, it's about 1,000 a night, and you have to be really grateful because there's nothing else in the north. There's just a few, like 3 or 4 homes in a village, and that's it. So beggars can't be choosers, basically. You can also stay in hostels in India. We've done this as well, but often the cost of a hostel, it's kind of comparable to the cost of an all Indian hotel or guest house. So obviously, being in a couple, it's not always what you want to stay in a hostel. We've stayed in ones in Mumbai because the accommodation is so expensive in Mumbai, and it was okay. It was cheap and cheerful. Just make sure you have your own padlock, because often you can lock your luggage away. Just make sure it's nice and safe. So yeah, that's accommodation really. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please watch my next video when I'll be talking about when's the best time to visit India, and also where to go. Okay, thank you.